A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Barry Jessen is Cambodia's country director for Samaritans Purse and has been there since 2019. He grew up as part of a farming family in Kingaroy, Queensland, and after a number of missionary roles overseas, began working for Samaritans Purse in 2013 in the anti-trafficking area. So Barry's going to join us today with an update about what God is doing through the Samaritans Purse in Cambodia in the context of education. Barry, welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Thanks for the welcome.
Well, Barry, tell us, what are the challenges in Cambodia today in the area of education?
The Cambodia, during the period of the Khmer Rouge, really the entire education system was destroyed. It was intentionally targeted for destruction, along with anyone who could teach or read or write, any materials, any infrastructure. So when the country restarted after that, not only did it start from scratch, but it no longer had the intellectual capital. And so it's still very much recovering from that. Literacy and numeracy are still a challenge across the whole country. And so obviously that has a knock-on effect to quality of life, potential income, and even people's vulnerability to trafficking.
Yeah. But Barry, some of our listeners may be a little bit younger and they don't know what the Khmer Rouge did or who they were. Can you give us a brief summary of who the Khmer Rouge was and what they did?
The Khmer Rouge were a disenfranchised group of Cambodians who believed that life in the 1400s was the ideal way of life. And so they forced everybody out of the cities and into farm camps and labor camps, back to a completely agrarian lifestyle where you only thought about what you needed for today and you owned what you needed for today. Now, unfortunately, that didn't go well, which led to needing to enforce their power. And throughout that process, the population was about 4.5 million people at that time, and around 1.5 to 2 million people were killed as they then started to look to take out anyone who could challenge them. They certainly didn't want people thinking or having vision or grouping together. So it had a massive impact on the country and still does.
Yeah, I mean, to half a population, that's just horrible. And they were effectively communists, weren't they? They wanted to remove anything that was privately owned, and they were state-run and state-owned in everything in their philosophy of government? Yes,
that's right. Everything was, you had... your loyalty was to the government, and they were the ones who made all the decisions for you.
Yeah, they effectively, as in all extreme left-wing political structures, the government replaced God. And as we all know, any government run by an individual, a human being, like you and I, Barry, eventually corruption sets in, doesn't it? And really bad things happen to a lot of people. So that's a really sad history in Cambodia, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the impact is still very much felt today. The trauma, a lot of the people, obviously, who suffered through that are still alive. And then their responses, their trauma responses have been passed on to their children. And so the generations are still suffering through that. The country is doing amazingly well, given what it went through, but still bears a lot of scars.
Yeah, I bet. So obviously, into this darkness steps many organisations and missionary groups like Samaritans Purse. So tell us what you're doing in the area of education to improve things.
One of the key things we identified, we do a lot of research. We rely a lot on research, and we identified that literacy and numeracy was a massive issue, particularly in the rural areas where we work. Functional literacy is often at close to 0%. And so obviously if a person is not able to read and write, they're not able to represent themselves or understand or record changes or respond or have a viewpoint or improve their life. And so that makes them vulnerable then to even disease, because you can't research anything. You can't record anything. It makes them vulnerable to people cheating them, people lying to them, people exploiting them. Obviously, income is limited. Literacy and numeracy is such a foundation for life. There are two, I think, basic foundations. One is clean water, and the other is the ability to read and write.
Yep. So what's Samaritans Purse doing then? Tell us about the education you guys are providing.
Well, Samaritans Purse Australia was our pioneering partner in addressing the issues in Cambodia. And as a result, now we have 3 programs. One is our We Can Read, We Can Write program, which focuses on functional literacy in primary school. It works to provide toolkits to teachers. Now, one of the issues is that obviously there's a lack of educated teachers. So we have specially designed toolkits for people who can't read and write. So they are able to train children. And the next stage of that program is a specially designed app and tablet that students can work through at their own pace and develop their literacy and numeracy, even if they don't have the best of teachers. We have learning coaches for slow learners, all of part of that program, which has been amazingly successful in getting people from year 1 up to year 6. We have a STEM program, which Samaritans Purse pioneered again with the help of the Australian office, which inspires children to make the leap then from primary school on to secondary school, on to middle school. That's been hugely successful. And we also have a construction program which builds schools in areas where children are learning in just entirely unsafe environments.
Well, so you're actually building physical schools. How many students on average in Cambodia would you say are in one school?
Somewhere between 150 to 300 would be your average. There are some larger ones, but we work in the rural areas where people get the least help. So ours are, and we may go into a school like the one we're building, one of the ones we're building at the moment. It has about 120 students. But by the time that facility is improved, enrolments will increase probably 100% within 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, so there's a real hunger for education. There's a hunger to learn amongst the younger generation.
Yes, absolutely. And the parents understand. Parents are the same everywhere. They want the best for their children. And one of the things that this program, the We Can Read, We Can Write program does is works directly with parents to make sure they understand the benefit of education. Because for kids to go to school, they have to not be earning money. So it's a sacrifice.
How do you guys get the gospel into what you're doing in that education space?
We work directly with the school support committee, which is a parental group. And though we're not able to preach the gospel in the school support committee, working with our staff, will often at least 50 or more % of that group will hear the gospel, respond to the gospel, and become Christians. They are then able to stock the library and do reading sessions with whatever material they like, and they are free to share the gospel in the schools. We do a lot of community engagement anytime we work in a school, and in that setting, we're free to share the gospel and tell people about the love of God.
Awesome. And is there a hunger for the gospel there as well in Cambodia? Are young people responding?
Absolutely. We're seeing a great rise in people accepting Jesus. Last year, just through Samaritans Purse programs, there were over 3,000 people make decisions for Christ. And throughout the country, Christian NGOs and churches are seeing the same thing.
Wonderful. So God is definitely moving in Cambodia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now's the time. Great time to be working there.
And Barry, how does education assist in preventing the child trafficking and the sex slave trade? How does that tie together?
Yeah, it's a very direct link. Where people cannot read and write, they rely on oral information they receive from people that they think they can trust. And unfortunately, we know that without God, humans are not trustworthy. Add to that the fact that Cambodia's economy is struggling. It's not yet where we want it to be. People are poor. and they will do things which are not just or right to make money. So by being able to educate people so that they can read and write and have critical thinking, they're able to analyze information that other people give them. Now, obviously, also through all our programs, we do direct anti-trafficking awareness raising. So wherever we're operating, it is much more difficult for a broker to recruit, and that's important to us.
Yeah, that's great. So there are brokers who transact these people who are trafficked between obviously getting the people and the ones who want them. And so is that the sort of the way it works? Is that the pathway into trafficking?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the largest area of human trafficking, certainly in Cambodia, is labor trafficking, people being trafficked for work. And so local people will act as an intermediary for people further down the chain, just passing on information. It's very hard to prosecute these people. So it's really important to empower people to make good decisions.
Yeah.
Through information, through education.
Excellent. And so Samaritans Purse is stepping into that void and providing education. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, Barry?
Myself as a person or as an organisation?
No, Barry Jessen. Are you staying in Cambodia for the long haul?
I'll be in Cambodia, for sure. I'll still be in Cambodia, still doing the work.
So you've just fallen in love with the people?
Absolutely. I think it's a great country, great people. There's an opportunity to work together to make the country stronger and bring people to Jesus.
I love it. Well, Barry, really interesting getting some insights there on what God is doing and what Samaritans Purse are doing in Cambodia. So I want to thank you so much for joining us on 2020 today.
No worries. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.